See, what happens in a marriage relationship, you allow these little toxins to kind of come into your relationship if you weren't aware of it. And there are things like resentment or blame, and you can blame in-laws, and you can blame other people,
and self-pity, that's a good one.
That's a big one. That impacted us
in a
very big way.
Because we aren't good at the pity party.
Well, I think I threw one of the largest pity parties that Southern California has ever seen when we got married in the first year, right? Because we moved in this little tiny apartment complex, and everything was great about it, really, for us for a while. We had we didn't have much money. We're getting started. We had hand-me-down furniture, a little sofa, a little love seat that was rust, kind of corduroy with stuffing coming out of one arm, and it was missing a pillow, but that was okay, And we had those bookshelves made out of plywood and the cinder blocks, gorgeous, and just stuff like that. And we didn't think much of it until we had another couple that moved in down the hallway, and in fact, we knew they were arriving because they had this big moving van show up. And
most of us didn't have enough stuff for one of those.
Right, and it was furniture wrapped and stuff, and we thought, wow.
Brand new
this
from
is
the
cool, right?
store.
Yeah, so we let them kind of get settled in. We went down to kind of greet, introduce ourselves, and I looked around their apartment and I thought, wow, look at this. This is like a department store. This is so awesome. And plus they got the corner apartment, the one I wanted, because it had a nice view over the 7-Eleven. It was really nice. And I remember we came back and I looked in our apartment and I said, wow, when are we going to get some good stuff? You ever felt that way? When are we going to get some good stuff? And then over at the graduate school, I remember he applied for a teaching assistantship that I was waiting to get. I thought I had a lock on this thing. And as the days rolled ahead, turns out he got the position that I was kind of jockeying for all these days. And I came home and I just told Les, I said, he got it. She said, he did? You worked so hard on trying to do that. And I said, I know, I'm just, and I started getting more and more filled with self-pity. And then what topped it off, we went down into our parking garage. We drove an old Ford pickup truck. Remember that truck?
Yes, I remember it. No air conditioning, nothing.
Right.
Bare minimum.
And the seat kind of breaking apart and stuff. Well, guess who was parked next to us? This same couple, and guess what they were driving? Something red and sporty and leather seats and all the stuff that you'd want in a cool car. And they got it for a nice wedding gift, and here was our old Ford pickup truck, all rusty beside it. And I came up after seeing their brand new car, and he's showing it to me and going, isn't it cool? And yeah, that's great. And I came up and I told Leslie, man, you should see their car. When are we going to get some good stuff, And I just threw this big pity party. Now, what happens in your relationship when you get filled with something like self-pity? It becomes contagious, and suddenly your spouse starts to join in that self-pity, right?
Absolutely.
That's why we say you've got to understand this principle of the habit of happiness. It's that capacity to adjust to things beyond your control. And so many of life's circumstances could be rerouted significantly if we learn to do this.
Yeah, because when you think about it, all of the expectations you bring with you into this marriage relationship, there are going to be so many surprises. And some of them are going to be great surprises, and a lot of them are going to be jolts to your spirit. And whenever you can respond to those from this deep place, it is amazing, because when you react that way, then your spouse begins to transform along with you, and it just changes the tone of the relationship.
On the campus of Stanford University, there's a building that is named after a professor, and that doesn't happen very often. Usually buildings are named after donors and so forth,
right.
But a professor down there that made a big impact on people's lives, and he wrote a textbook, a marriage and family textbook. It was probably one of the first that had ever been written, and we have a copy of it. It's kind of a collector's item, and this big, massive book on marriage and family, and in the entire text, he has only one single sentence that is italicized. And the sentence, and what does it mean when an author italicizes a sentence? Wake up, right? Pay attention. This is important. The single sentence he had italicized in the entire book was the sentence that said, the most important quality of a marriageable person is the habit of happiness. And then he went on to kind of outline, what does that mean, the habit of happiness? And he began to unpack this capacity to adjust to things beyond your control. It may be some of the most ancient wisdom that is out there, but boy, is it relevant today.
I had been laid off or downsized a week before Isabella was born. I was very bitter. I wasn't nice. And it had nothing to do with the people around me, but more to do with myself. And I realized that my actions were hurting her, whether intentional or not, and that I had to change it because I wanted her to be happy.
I can think of another couple, Scott and Debbie. Just a great example. Here they are. Debbie was so excited to be married. She had never had an intact family. Her parents had been divorced, and so now she was excited to create this family that she'd just been having sort of an idealized vision for. And Scott was a great guy, and so she fully expected their marriage to just start out wonderful. First morning they woke up together in the hotel, not in a tent. They were in a hotel, beautiful hotel for their honeymoon. She expected him to be focused on her and ordered breakfast in bed and all these kinds of things. He was up watching TV.
Well, yeah, she said she woke up to the sound
Yeah.
of the TV, and she's thinking, what is that? And maybe he's on the phone or something, and it turns out he was on the phone.
Yeah, she heard all this noise.
And she looked down at the end of the bed, and all she could see is his head kind of, sitting on the floor with his head kind of poking up, but he was on the phone, and the TV was on, and it was the Home Shopping Network. And she was thinking, what in the world is he doing?
He was on the phone ordering this really expensive collector's pack of baseball cards. And, I mean, they literally had no money to start their life together. He hadn't even consulted with her. He's off just, doing this hobby thing. And she woke up to this and she thought, oh no, what have I done? And here it is, the first morning of her married life, and she laughs about it now, but the truth is, there are so many of those moments, and you have to find that capacity.
Yeah, and we've received so many stories, and maybe you'll send us a story someday on how you practice the habit of happiness, that capacity to adjust to things beyond your control.